There we go. So welcome everyone to this very special interview with a very special woman. We're here with the wonderful Lola Fayemi, live in the Abundant Business Network. Welcome, Lola. It's wonderful to have you here with us.
Thank you for having me, Lara.
It's a delight. I'm so honored. So I'd like to take a moment to introduce you to this wonderful woman. I'm just going to read off here. So Lola Fayemi, she is a transformational specialist, leadership coach, workshop facilitator, and writer. Through her company, Boss Ass Living, Lola specializes in supporting women to reclaim their power so they can lead, live, and love with authority and authenticity like the queens they really are. Her focus is on supporting warrior leaders who are pioneering new ways in their work and or family to step into their sovereignty so they can have the impact they came here to have. She has firsthand experience of pioneering, a cat's rubbing against this computer. She has firsthand experience of pioneering transformational coaching in a number of London prisons, keeping the depth while making it accessible. To date, over 1,000 young men have been through that program. Through one-to-one work and group programs and workshops, she helps clients transform their lives by identifying and releasing the long-held patterns and wounding, keeping them stuck, leaving them sovereign, free to live their lives on their terms as originally intended. Amazing. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you. So, my darling, I'd love to start by finding out, or for everyone listening in to find out a little bit more about you before we dive into this really important subject. I'm wondering if you could share some parts of your story, your journey, like what brought you to this point doing this amazing work? Can you share a little bit about your journey, what feels like right to share today?
Yeah. So, yeah, it's lovely to be here, by the way. It's lovely to be doing this. I know we've been talking about it for a while, so it's lovely for it actually to be happening. So my journey, what wants to be shared today? Obviously, my journey is long and there's lots of things I could share. But in a nutshell, I'm a Londoner. I'm a South Londoner. And I was born to Nigerian parents in South London and just did what I was meant to do, really. Just kind of, I was good at school, went to school, got the grades. I was going to go to uni, graduate. You know, I was on that normal path that you're supposed to do. And then I got to I was working, I was earning good money, you know, I was living the dream apparently, you know, but it didn't feel good. Although I didn't necessarily mind that because I didn't think it was supposed to feel good and I wasn't trying to feel good. That wasn't in my intention. But there was this niggling like, something's really off here. And then then my dad got cancer. So that was the first time in my life I'd been through something like that. I was about mid-20s, I want to say. And at that point, I was bouncing around a little bit in the industry that I used to work in. I used to work in recruitment, IT recruitment. And so I'd left my sort of main IT recruitment job thinking it was the company that was the problem, thinking, I can find this happiness somewhere else, but just still searching within this teeny tiny pool of what was available in the whole entire world, you know? So it was going to be as good as it was going to get, you know, what I was doing at that time. And then my dad got sick and it just kind of made my whole world shatter and fall apart. Devastating at the time. Thank God now, you know, it needed to fall apart. It was rubbish. It was absolute shit. It ticked everybody else's boxes, but it didn't tick mine. And so that doesn't matter. And I didn't even know what my boxes were to be ticked, right? I didn't even know I was allowed to have boxes. What are these boxes of which people are speaking? I also found years and years later, because there's layers and layers to this whole story, but years later, probably about nearly 20 years later, I found out that I realized that my family was really dysfunctional, and I realized that my dad was narcissistic, you know, hugely and very typically. You know, he won't be the first dad. He definitely won't be the first African dad, I'll tell you that much, to be a raving narcissist. So my life was never about me. Yeah, it was very normal to me that, like, I didn't know that my life wasn't about me. I thought what you did in life was please other people. I thought what you did in life was fit in and belong. And I was really good at that, like really good. So good that I know some people, this is a very typical story. I know this is nothing unique to me in the world that we inhabit. But I think where I was a bit different from some other people was that I didn't have an awareness that I was pretending. I've noticed that some people are aware that they're like trying to fit in and trying to belong. I'm a committed girl, you know, I'm a very committed girl. So I went all in to this character that I needed to be, to live this life, to live in this world. And I didn't know there was anything else. So when it all started to fall apart, when my dad got sick, it was devastating because I believed I was falling apart. I didn't know there was anything more to me than this existence, even though it was making me unhappy. So off I went down a little bit of depression, you know, as my world was falling apart. And I remember having this, what I love is that voice never lets up inside, you know, and I only know this from in hindsight. There's no awareness of this at the time, but there was just this feeling of, I thought I had this sussed. Like I thought I was smashing this life, and clearly not. And so I don't think I know how to do this, actually. So the best thing for me to do is to stop thinking that I do know and just be open. And that was the kind of feeling I had. I was getting a lot of messages, like they were coming at me thick and fast in ways that were just, I'd be in the room with other people and someone would say something and I'd be like, oh my God, did you hear that? And the other people would be like, no, what? And I'm like, what? You didn't hear that? And then I thought, shit, was he just talking to me? Was that for me? And I had no awareness. I grew up in a religious home. I don't think there was God there. Like, I don't feel like there was God there. From what I know now, the feeling of feeling supported by God, life, universe, whatever it was, there was a lot of talk about it and a lot of dogma. Yeah. So, but there wasn't an awareness. I didn't have a spirituality like that. But this was stirring inside of me of, just there's a real feeling of there's got to be more to life than this, you know. So off I went, came out the other side, was speaking to a lot of people about this because that's what I'm like. And everyone I spoke to was like, oh yeah, you know, I went through this one time, or my brother went through this, and there was a lot of people kind of getting depressed, basically, that I didn't know about before. I remember thinking, why is no one speaking about this? Yeah, like if we're all going through it. So I had this real feeling of, okay, whatever I want to do next, because I know that I can do anything. I know, you know, I've just got that in my character. But I was kind of like, but what do I want to do next? So it's like, I want to do something that's real. I just knew that. I thought, I want to deal with that, this thing that people aren't talking about, you know, the real stuff. But I don't know what that means. I have no idea what this is. Is this a job? How do you do this thing? But I want to help people go through what I've just been through, because my life was a lot better. I felt a lot happier. It wasn't like a fairy tale, as you know, right? But it was better. There was just a feeling of rightness and feeling more in alignment with who I actually am at that time. And then I discovered it was a kind of coaching, and trained as a coach. And that came home, basically, started the process of coming home. And then the training as a coach is great. You train as a coach, but then you live. For me, I'm an embodied person. I'm an embodied coach. I'm an embodied transformation specialist. Even today with this conversation, I have no idea what I'm going to say. I have no idea what's going to come out of my mouth. I don't work like that. I can't work like that. Even if I wanted to, I would. Everyone's always like, put the paper down. It's much better when you put the paper down, because I just read from it and it's horrible. So yeah, it's lived. For me, it's very much a lived experience thing. And then, yes, I have the professional experience and training to back it up. But even when I work with coaches and mentors and stuff, I need you to have lived your shit, and I can feel it. I like it when it's in your bones. So it's not a head thing. It's not a remembering this. No, I like really skilled facilitators. So, and I like to be a skilled facilitator, which means I can dance with whatever shows up in the moment. I feel much more confident about that than being prepared with a script. Ugh. So yeah, that's kind of what got me into this. And then I had my son, and then the mother in me woke up, and then I ended up doing working the prison situation for about 6 years, and that was phenomenal. That was amazing. That was an opportunity for me to really put my money where my mouth was, you know, and it was really hard as well. It was extremely challenging. It's an extremely challenging system, but it was amazing as well. Absolutely rewarding, fulfilling, hilarious, dark, you know, traumatizing. Everything was there in that experience. But we also made magic. You know, we made magic happen, and now I find myself in a situation where I'm like, all of these disparate parts from my past, all of this experience is now I'm ready to put them into boss ass living, you know, which I've been doing kind of on the side. So I do leadership, corporate work as well, for the last sort of 3 years, but it's very much a co-creation. So it was never a kind of, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. It was more about creating the container and following the breadcrumbs, because actually whenever I want to do stuff, it's just shit. Anything I want to do is rubbish, 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 small and shitty. But life always has something much more exciting and better than I could ever think of, you know, that it wants me to do. So it's kind of like, okay, here's the container, show me. And then I got shown big time when George Floyd was murdered. It was like the final clunk, clink of the piece of the puzzle, and like, it's game time.
It's game time. I love that. Oh, Lola. Thank you. What an amazing journey you've been on. And I think, yeah, your story is also very relatable as well, in that it was really powerful. I just love the depth of your trust and how much you really sink into life. It's very inspiring to me. I'm wondering, well, I have about 5 questions I want to ask all at the same time. But I was wondering if you would be up for sharing, like, are you able to articulate what this kind of final click was for you after the death of George Floyd? Like, I'm curious a little bit about how you've been and what's been activated for you when you say game time. That felt really powerful.
Yeah. So I've been jaded for a little while, you know. I've just been off everything, people, everything, like just whatever. Again, trusting though, you know. And sometimes that trust looks like throwing a massive tantrum, right? Let's be clear. This is not, I'm not the Dalai Lama. But yeah, for about a year, I could just feel myself going through something. So I felt like I was actually, in hindsight, I was prepared for COVID. A lot of what COVID brought, I was going through on a really big level for about 9 months before it. And so I kind of just went deeper, and I liked COVID, actually. I really loved the solitude and the time apart. And I'm really empathic. So it's great because I'm super sensitive and really intuitive, and it's very much a massive part of the work that I do and the gifts that I have. But it also is something you have to learn to really, it's a skill, you know, so it doesn't take you over. And I get enmeshed. People are really drawn to me, and people's energies are really drawn to me, and I get polluted, literally. So I had really got good at, I was getting better anyway, at standing in my own energy field. And so COVID was amazing because I could just be in my own energy field. It's like, oh, everyone's leaving me alone. You know, no one's bombarding me. No one's invading. Literally, the law is saying stay at home and stay away from people, and people stay away from Lola. So it's brilliant. And so I think, but I also had this awareness of like, this is so interesting. I wonder what this is going to do for everyone when they are not collapsed and enmeshed into each other. You know, because I'm sensitive. I'm not the only one who's affected by everyone's energy fields. Just because you don't know it's happening doesn't mean anything. It's still freaking happening. So I could feel me, you know, I was feeling who I am, what I want, blah, 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 and also shifting like everyone else, right? So then when I was off, actually, I was off social media. I was just very much in my own little bubble and loving it. And yeah, it happened. I heard about it, and there was just a feeling of, do you know what? Fuck this, no more. You know, fuck this. Like, I'm so fucking done with this shit, whatever that means. You know, like, you don't fucking get to do that. No, like, I'm done. And I remember just this real feeling of like, I need to come back onto social media and be like, I have something to say of meaning, you know. What I didn't realize was obviously everyone else was having a different experience too. That was a surprise. Yeah, that was me putting myself, honestly, I came back and I was like, ready, like, this is what I stand for. Fuck this. This is what I want to get behind in the way that is what right for me. I knew there was a link. I didn't know what it was. I didn't have the mental side down, whatever, that doesn't matter. But I knew there was a thing really calling me there. And I knew I could contribute something. And I was ready to fight, you know. I was ready, like, I'm going to say what I'm going to say, and I'm ready to deal with anyone who doesn't like what I have to say. Like, that's not a problem. I'm not cowering because of dum-dums. Do you know what I mean? I'm not doing that. So I did, and what I didn't expect was to have no backlash and actually tons of support. That was new. This was like, whoa, what's happening? And then when that happened, that changed something in me too, you know, and not just me, everyone, because it's a dynamic, right? It's like we're always, we have our individual work that we do, we have our own self-development work that we do, and blah, blah, blah. And then it's about how we are in relation to other people, you know, and that's really important. And there's a whole nother layer and level of development available then. So it's like a dance, and it's you don't have control over the whole dance, but you do have control over the steps that you take, and the steps that you take affect your dance partner's steps too, like that, right? So what had happened was the conversation moved on finally, and with a load of white people stepping up and also feeling like, enough, this can't go on, and also clicking about the complicit piece and being complicit by being passive. It changed something. That dynamic changed, and something over here changed. And for me, I could feel it. I was like, oh, there's room to grieve here. Yeah, there was never room to grieve before, because we were just always, we were just stuck at the fighting that this is even a thing, you know. So all of a sudden it's like, shit, we can actually move on into, and it was like, what are these feelings that I'm feeling right now? And it was like grief, and it was the pain, and it was as well, it was asking myself, like, I never got to ask myself these kind of questions, like, what does it take for me to live in this system? Really, you know, really, what does it take? How's it affected me? How's it shaped me? Yeah. So I want to be clear here, and also just say that I also was getting bored for many years now, and I think this is why I stay out of it, because I didn't really feel like I had anything to really. No, I knew I had something to bring. That's not true, but it was closed. It felt like the debate was closed, right? And there was two positions, and they were the only two positions that were available. And actually, neither one of them appealed to me. Neither one. You know, it was about 5 years ago that I had the realization that I'm not African American, for Pete's sake. And obviously I know I'm not African American, but the narrative is so dominant that it's kind of like, it's coming at you all the time, like, this is what it is to be Black. And I didn't relate to all of that. I didn't see a lot of stories that reflected my story, you know, my heritage, who I am, how I see things. So on a personal level, I actually personally haven't experienced a lot of direct racism, you know, haven't really felt stopped personally, directly, overtly, okay? If I'm honest, I feel like I transcend race. I do, and not in a sort of bullshit way, but just in a way like, I'm fucking Lola, bitch. Yeah, like, you know, regardless of all the other narratives, it's that. Because there is something inside of us, I think, that is much more powerful than all of this. And there are social forces at play also. Both are true. So, but there are systemic things going on. There are fields, there are energy fields, there are fields that I belong to. I still belong to the field of a Black person, you know. I still have, I might not have slavery in my DNA, you know, in my ancestral experience, but they have colonization because my parents are African. And just, and it's the water you swim in, it's the air that we breathe. So there are messages all the time that are kind of like, you should look like this, you should be like this, you know. So I've just gotten used to not fitting in anywhere, my whole life, you know. So yeah, I started to ask myself those questions, because those are really key places that rob us of our power as well. I don't think you can do individual power work just on your own belief. It's so self-indulgent and navel-gazy to be like all about my beliefs, my stories, they matter, but not like they're happening against the backdrop of a world that we live in, right? And if you're denying that, then I think there's something off there, actually, and pretty dangerous, because you're still affected by it, whether you believe it or not. And you're more affected by it if you're not aware of it, if you're not conscious of it, and then you can't do anything to change it, you know. So spirituality and social justice are both really important to me, you know. And I've done my apprenticeship working with the prisons and taking transformational work into prisons, you know, for everything from being involved in the let's call it business development, I don't know what the right term is, of getting it in the prisons. And they're not looking for coaches generally, right? Bringing the coaches in, designing the programs, training the coaches, supporting the coaches, making the program accessible for these young men, and keeping all the depth, not making it some really trite, crappy thing because it's in prison, like making it a proper leadership program that other people pay thousands of pounds for. Why can't they have that? Why shouldn't they have access to that? You know, why shouldn't it look nice? Everything is shabby. Everything in prison is shabby as, oh God, it's horrible. But it was little things like, let's make our stuff look nice. You know, beauty is important to me anyway, and I'm not going to be associated with something shabby. I don't care where it is. It's not happening. So yeah, that answers your question, I'm sure, somewhere in there.
Wow, thank you so much, Lola, for sharing. What I absolutely adore about you is just how open and honest and real you are. I absolutely value this about you deeply. And the no bullshit detector, or the very good bullshit detector, I should say. And that you really are a bridge between all worlds, and you embody the spiritual stuff deeply, but you're here for social justice. You're here on the ground, you know, you're here in the world. And I value this deeply about you. I think it's essential to create really powerful change. So thank you so much. And for modeling it and embodying it and, you know, demonstrating what that looks like.
Can I just say, because I always get the real thing, everyone always like, you're so real, you're so real. And I just think, how weird is it that we live in a world, that for me just shows again that we live in a world where so many people aren't. Do you know what I mean? That I get praise for just being real. It just feels weird. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
that should be the normal. That should be the normal, to be real.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, it is weird, but hey, here we are. So I'm wanting to, today we were talking about, you know, step into sovereignty.
Yes.
So I'm wondering if we can bridge between everything, you know, your story, what you've been experiencing, where you're at, and let's bridge into sovereignty. So can you tell us a little bit about, like, what is sovereignty? Why is this important to you? And in a way, how does this all kind of merge together? Let's see where we go with that question.
Yeah. So, sovereignty. What is sovereignty? So for me, sovereignty is similar to like being in your authentic power. So where it came from was, I don't fully remember, and I need to retrace my steps on this properly, but I remember being in my garden. I definitely remember that. I remember being in my garden, and there's a table in my garden. It's round and it's got little patterns on it. And then there's an inner set, and I don't know why, but I was looking at this table and I was like, if this table was me, like, who sits at the center of it, really, you know? And actually, it wasn't me. And I remember that feeling immediately, like, I'm not quite sure, but it's not me. I'm not lodged in the center of this thing at all. And it was just this real awareness and eye opener that actually it was my dad. It's like, oh shit, like he's just lodged still in the center of it. And I'm sure that came off the back of something, but it was just, I could see it and I could feel it, and I don't know why. And I just knew that it was like, I think I'm supposed to, I don't know what it was. I think I'm supposed to be in the center, you know? Because I'd been on the journey for a long time doing personal development work. You know, I'm confident. I've got a lot of power. I think I've got more power than most people. I really do. So I love your cat. So, but it's all relative at the end of the day. And I could feel, for me, I'm like, there's a hell of a lot more that I'm not tapping into. And then I really like I love archetypes. I'm very much a Jungian, you know, so I love archetypes, love shadow work and Joseph Campbell and things like that. And so archetypally, I was looking at, I was doing a lot of work on my femininity anyway, my feminine energy for many years before that. And I was very much into the queen archetype. And that was very much about being the authority. I love the idea. Queen really resonated for me because it was like a queen has a realm, you know, and she serves her realm. So for me, a queen is very much a high feminine leadership position in service. And so it felt really like, I get that, you know. And then there's the themes of sovereignty in there. This is where it started. And so I never really used that word much, but I loved it. I always had a real visceral response of like, sovereignty. But I think I felt like I had to grow into it a little bit, you know. And then for me, sovereignty is authority, you know. So self-sovereignty is self-authority, self-leadership. These are all kind of the same things for me. And I just think somewhere along the line, it was like, I can step into mine. You know, I was doing the leadership work. I think there was a bit of me finding my way with that as well. Like I was doing it, no problem, but I wanted to do it. I know what I'm like when I'm doing it. And the energy field piece was big because that was the moment when it's like, this is about being sovereign, not just over your life, but it's sovereign over your energy field. It's sovereign over your body. It's sovereign. There's so many layers of sovereignty, but it's like you're in charge of yourself. Someone else doesn't have the authority over you. Something. And so we have our childhood that can have sovereignty over us, like so our parents can have sovereignty over us or other family members. Then we've got themes of like men having sovereignty over women, you know, historically patriarchal themes, white people having sovereignty over black people, long-standing racial things. Capitalism, there's a capitalism piece here that's rumbling for me at the moment. But again, I think it's because the world started up again. So you can really feel it. Economics, something about that having power over us. Money, I mean, money has a lot of power over a lot of people, really, you know. And it's about taking back your power from these places as much as you can. Obviously, we live in this world, and we can all do this in different ways. But I think what people are really looking for is that sovereignty anyway. And they're just trying to find it in a lot of other different places. Or if they think they can't have it, then they want to numb the pain of not being able to have sovereignty over their own life. So, yeah, I want a world with much more sovereign people in it. I'm really intrigued to see what happens if there's, you know, more, because I don't know what would happen. That's the whole point. But I think it would be generative. It would definitely be a generative space if we had more sovereignty in the world and not just people following through these outdated systems. And people fall for it. Like I mean, I get it. It's different for me, but I do when I speak to muggles, I do sometimes think, wow, you know, like when I had someone tell me the other day that like, they were like, oh yeah, Boris Johnson, he's clearly a really intelligent man, but blah, 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 blah. And I was like, what? How can you sit there and say that he is clearly an intelligent man? Because he went to Eton, you know, like, because they're told this makes, you know, this, I don't know, I don't like that. You know, I'm sure there's great people that go to Eton and it's not about that, but it's not, you're not great because you go there, right? Because it's getting us into some serious trouble now. A lot of serious trouble. Like, it's almost like the systems are going, showing us, like, look what your crappy systems can create. Yeah, he went through your system. You know, Trump, Boris, all of them. It's like, yeah, that's what your system is. Your system did that. It's like, oh, okay, we need a new one.
Oh, wow. So beautifully explained. So do you feel that stepping into our own sovereign power is part of the journey of building new systems, creating new systems, or dismantling old systems? Do you feel like they're connected?
Yes, absolutely. And the reason why is because you can't do anything out there that you don't do in here. So you have to, so if you notice, like even on the example of George Floyd, like I said, I'm not a typical activist, a traditional activist like that, but I think I have got activisty tendencies, just I don't march or anything, but it's in a different way. But if you notice, when it happens, if it's not, for me, it's not a fight out there. You know, it's like, yes, I've got stuff to say. And then it's like, what the hell's going on inside of me? And it's like, oh shit, there's a ton of grief. You know, I need to deal with this. And basically I'm dismantling these things. When I ask myself these questions, who am I? How do I collude with this system? How am I complicit? Okay. I want to I have to dismantle it in myself, not like completely, but I have to be, that work has to be going on as well. Dismantle it internally. Otherwise, I'm going to be contributing to the current system without realizing that I'm doing it. You know, a lot of harm is caused by people who don't do any inner work and just do all the outer work, because all they're really doing is pointing fingers and blaming, which is toxic. It's a classic toxic behavior. And we all do it. This is not about, just to be clear, nothing is about being like black and white in terms of good and bad. We all do it, but it's like when we know better, we want to do better, right? So I saw that a lot in the charity sector. A lot. I've never seen so much toxicity in my life as I saw in the charity sector. And that's a sector that's doing good, right? So you don't just get to, the ends do not justify the means, I'm afraid. You know, the ends are determined by the means. You are not going to be shaming people into love. And people have to be held accountable, and people need to still be educated. And I get it, it's a really kind of like, it's a balancing act, and you're always like looking for the balance, and then sometimes you just want to rant and just have a go. And sometimes it's like anger. Like I found a lot of anger and revenge. I found things inside me where I'm like, you know, I've had my stages where I'm like, I'm not feeling white people at the moment. I don't want to speak to any. You know, in the last few weeks, where I've just felt like the last thing I need in my life right now is to be around any white people today, because I'm too angry. There's something processing inside of me. It's not, you know, we're dealing with emotions. We're not dealing with logic. So I don't need any gaslighting, and I don't need any spiritual bypassing, and I don't need anyone telling me that I need to forgive. Okay? Do what you feel you need to do. But I process shit deeply. I'll come out the other side. I know it's not a permanent thing, but I would rather not be like, oh no, I don't like white people today. Bury that under the carpet. That's really inconvenient. It's like, no, that's how I feel, and it will pass, and I'm going to let it process, because I might not be just processing for myself. And I'm really lucky. I have a lot of friends that are white, actually, and the company I tend to keep, I can tell them that. They'd just be like, I don't fucking blame you, Lo. You know, so it's yeah, it's just, there's rumbling, rumbling with emotions that need to go on. Yeah, because it's all backed up inside of us. And I don't think it's ours. I do feel that really strongly at the moment. There's a lot of clearing that's going on. We were just saying before we came on about, it's really deep, old. I always say bottom of the barrel, and I don't even like that phrase because it's never the bottom of the barrel. There's always seems to be, as long as you keep growing, there's more layers, right? There's more depths to go to. But it's some old stuff coming up at the moment for a lot of people, which we need to clear because there are new ways coming in. But we are very much in clearing mode right now, and I'm a championship clearer, man. You know what I mean? I'm a heavyweight clearer, and it is real right now. It is intense. So I do feel sorry for people that aren't used to this. I don't think I'll be able to cope at all if I didn't have the experience and the muscles kind of built over the years to do the inner work. And even, I mean, I'm finding stuff the last few days that are just so uncomfortable. I just want to run far away from myself, and I can't get away from myself, Yeah, it's not a joke, mate. It's not a joke at the moment.
It's deep, it's dark, heavy shadow work. And I'm so glad again you're speaking into that as well, because that's real. That's what's here. That's what's up. And we all have to do our inner work. And I think it's so important to remember that you're talking about collective as well. Like you're doing, I know you do a lot of collective transformational work as well, but we have to still go through it through ourselves, right? Feel it. So it's really important. I think there's nowhere else but through. We can't bypass this birth. It's like the baby's coming. We've got to push it out.
Yeah.
Down and in, but it hurts. It's hard. It's awful. And I'm right here with you on all of that. It feels like a lot of the stuff I've been working through with my body, there's lots of levels of grief, obviously, but also old trauma. I think these systems, I mean, there's so much trauma for everybody, everybody. Yes. And we have to process that. And again, it can be so unconscious. And the deep, dark, like you were talking about shame earlier, grief, maybe anger, like all of these deep, heavy emotions we don't want to feel because I feel like shit. It's like, I don't want to feel these. I mean, honestly, I've been realizing how much I don't want to feel bad feelings as well. And I think I'm really pro shadow worker, and I'm like, oh my, I don't like feeling this bad. This is not good. So just for people listening as well to know that, I want people to know they're not alone, right? Like you and I are kind of master energy workers on this stuff, and we're being stretched. So it's like, I want people to know that you're not alone. There's nothing wrong with you or bad about you, right? This is deep. This is real, and this is leadership work as well, right? This is a part of it. Thanks for speaking into that. So I was wondering, so I know you've got a pretty amazing, you started a lovely Facebook group. The link is below, which I highly recommend joining in there. But I was also wondering, because you've got a workshop coming up where we can, people who are really wanting to find out more. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about the workshop you're holding about, is it Step Into Your Sovereignty? Is that what it's
Tap Into Your Power.
Tap Into Your Power.
Yeah.
They're connected, aren't they? Power and
absolutely. Yeah.
So what do you tell us for those people that were like, wow, like I want to find out more about this work. I want to take this deeper. I wonder if you would be able to just tell us a little bit about your upcoming workshop and your work in general, kind of.
So my work with Boss House Living is all about authentic power, coming into your authentic power. And it's about reclaiming your power from all the places that you've given it away. And a lot of it is the really deep work. So it's not just the kind of, oh yeah, I tend to think I'm not good enough or whatever. We're talking about how you've been primed. So I work with the fact that you have been primed, like for instance, women often have been primed to please, have been primed to have no boundaries, to be available to everyone. If you, that makes you a nice person. If you have boundaries, now you're being a bitch, which is, it's like faulty wiring, right? So we're talking at these kind of deeper levels. And because I'm all about, like I said, it's about the embodied work. It's not about willpower. This is not about like affirmations or willpower and remembering and things like that. It just happens after a while because things actually transform. It's more alchemical. So tap into your power is a really lovely introduction to my work. And using my process, I found a way to help people kind of uncover a lot of the different ways that they give their power away, the deeper ways they wouldn't see, the ways that sit in their blind spots, the ways that they have just thought were normal, basically. And I use the framework of working with masculine and feminine energy, because for me, coming into your power is actually coming into your own unique balance and expression of your feminine and masculine energy. It covers lots of things individually, but also systemically. So for instance, I do salsa, and last night I was doing a class, and it was in salsa, Afro-Cuban salsa, we dance the West African gods and goddesses. And the one last night's my favorite, Orien. And I was doing her in the class, and I just was thinking about how Orien is kind of, I suppose, how you would just, well, she's kind of like Kali-esque energy, right? But she is, yeah, she's fierce. She's all about like thunder, and she creates storms. So when you're dancing, you can really go for it, and really like, you have to like imagine you're creating storms and stuff. And she looks after like the cemeteries and all this kind of stuff. She's that kind of energy, but she's all woman. And it's an expression of feminine energy. But whereas I've always understood in the Hindu religion, Kali, and I don't know the other gods and goddesses that are like that kind of energy, Orien's still sensual, you know, like we are still, there are definitely like cultural things that play into our expression of femininity and masculinity. And I felt that, because I felt when, you know, there was a stage where I was doing this work, and it was a little bit like my expressions were vanilla, and they were missing my Africanness. You know, they were missing my, I literally had, there's a part of my masculine energy that's literally called Johnny Big Bollocks. So I was missing Johnny Big Bollocks. Do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, it's Johnny Big Bollocks is fine. You know, where I come from, how I've been raised, this is not modest land. And it's kind of, so it's a way of really touching into these unique expressions within yourself, bringing them into harmony, being more conscious about when you're using them, being aware of what's affected yours. Like, it's just an amazing doorway, basically, that leads to a really transformational experience. So that's happening on the 1st of August, which is a Saturday, and it's a 3.5-hour workshop, and it's just a nice introduction. I will be running it. I want to run it regularly, but 1st of August is the only one that's in the diary at the moment. And then there'll be a longer group program called Sovereignty, starting maybe September. Some other bits and bobs that I've got, but the group is a great place to come to as well. That's very new, a new Facebook group called Step Into Your Sovereignty. But I'm loving it there. I'm loving the vibe there. I'm feeling it, feeling the potential. It's only about a couple of weeks old. We've got some people in there, and it will be growing. So it's a nice place to come and be. And the idea for me is about, you know, this work we're doing, however you're doing it, we're doing it in a world that is not about being in your sovereignty. It's about having other people having sovereignty over you, so they can control you, so they can profit from you. And so it's like a space, because it's difficult to go out there and be in the minority when everyone else is just, you know, you feel that gravitational pull of pressure. Everyone else is doing things another way. And I wanted to create a place where we can kind of like a hub, and where we can support each other, because also what we want to be doing going forward is we want to be grounding this energy field. And the way we will do this, like, so when you're talking about the collective, why can't this be the collective? You know, this could be the collective one day. That's how collectives start. That's how collective consciousness start, right? We're purging out the old one at the moment. We're very much in the beginning of that process. And what's next? What's new? So I'm really aware of that. Like, there are new things coming, there are new ways, there are new systems, new products, new everything, just new. They're new. We don't know what they are. So this only knows what's been. So forget this. Yeah. This is about being visionary as well. It's about being innovative. And just like when I did the prison work, I had no idea what was going to happen. Like, it was way bigger than my wildest dreams. Not at all what I went there to do. I went there to do something so much smaller. And then it just kept growing because the container was there, the intention was there, the heart was there, you know. So again, it's like that. We need to, I want to kind of have a place where people can get strong in that and know that it's enough. Because there's other people that be going, so what are you going to do? What's your plan? What's your plan? And you'll be like, shit, I haven't got a plan. There's something wrong with me. I haven't got a plan. I'm never going to work. Ah. But come to me and it's like, you don't need a fucking plan. Yeah, the plan will come when the plan needs to come. We're not at the planning stage right now. Yeah, we need to vision. You need to, I don't know, be open. Like, something wants to come through you, let it come through. So it's I want that space where we can support and hold each other and support each other in the new way and in our continual unfolding into whatever it is that we're unfolding into. No one knows. And I think that's really exciting and absolutely terrifying sometimes at the same time, you know. But it's what it is. It's what's happening.
Oh, so perfectly said. It's so perfectly said. And I hope people listening can hear how you show up. Like, you know, I was reminded of when you were living the IT life, and you had no, like, you could never have imagined or visioned that this was what you'd be doing. It just wasn't in your universe, right?
It would have been so much easier because I would have just got a coach at the time. I didn't even know the thing existed. So no, I had no clue.
Exactly. And this is how you show up now. You've learned to really trust in that process, even when it's uncomfortable. But it's not like you, Lola, know exactly what's happening, but you know to show up, you know to process the feelings. And it kind of, this thing that's bigger than you comes through. And I think that you hold such a powerful container for this type of work. And we need these, you know, safe containers, because we are being transformed beyond that which we've ever experienced or we've ever seen before. And yes, it's uncomfortable, and yes, it can be scary. So I think we need networks now, and we need connections, we need safe places and safe people to do this work with. I think, anyway, that's what I see. So thank you for holding these containers and creating these spaces for us. I will be at your workshop on August the 1st. I'm really looking forward to that. It's really, really reasonably priced as well. It's like super, like, what are you charging for that?
It's like 30 quid. £30 for the Americans.
£30. It's about $40. It's like,
accessibility is really important to me as well. I want this information in as many people's hands as possible, for sure.
Well, thank you. So in the links beneath this interview, you got a link for Lola's Facebook group, you got a link for the workshop, you got a link for all her social media. So go and hang out with her on her various platforms as well. I just want to say the deepest heartfelt thank you and gratitude to you and for sharing all of you with us. It's such a gift. And I'm really excited for what the future holds as well. I feel, you know, be able to journey with someone like you and have you in my life and have you here. It's like, I feel like we're richer for it. And it makes me, I think this is it. It's like we can I think creates more safety as well, right? And support and love and knowing you're not alone. And we're in this, we've got this, you know, some part of us has got this, even if our brain doesn't know what the hell's going on right now. So thank you so much. And Lola will be here. She's in this group. So if you have any questions or you want to, you know, reach out to her, private message her, don't hesitate to get in touch and ask her any questions. So thanks once again, darling Lola.
Thank you, Lara.
Here's to the next adventures.
Indeed.